installing that transmitter in the 1940s, he went back home and said, I'm going to start a company building electronic equipment for Christian radio. That was his whole purpose. And he started building these crown reel-to-reel tape recorders, amplifiers, speakers, microphones, and it became a well-known name in pro audio. I don't know how many of you who've been in radio for a while have used Crown equipment. But Clarence found out that HCJB wanted to build a 500 kilowatt shortwave transmitter and said, here, come use my factory in the U.S. and build it here. And so that was established a group in 1975 to build this transmitter in Elkhart, Indiana. I graduated from high school in 76. Our family moved to the U.S. I went off to college, and my dad worked in Elkhart building this transmitter. Actually, during the summers, I worked as a tech, assembled many of the circuit boards in that transmitter over the course of the late 70s. So this transmitter was finished in 1980, shipped to Ecuador, and went on the air and was used from Ecuador to broadcast, especially to the most distant targets behind the Iron Curtain from Ecuador. Although that group initially, after that transmitter was finished, was disbanded, just 4 years later, or 5 years later, HCJB regrouped and established what then became known as the HCJB World Radio Engineering Center. And the purpose of establishing a permanent site there was to produce 100,000 watt or 100 kilowatt shortwave transmitters that were reliable, affordable, and efficient. We had learned a lot building the 500 kilowatt transmitter, knew that we at HCJB needed 100 kilowatts to replace the aging RCAs that were being very difficult to use as multi-band transmitters all over the band. TWR also had come to us and said, hey, we've got old Continentals, we need to be replacing our transmitters as well. And so we brought together a team of engineers and started designing and building these 100 kilowatt shortwave transmitters, which we call the HC100 transmitter. That, of course, then takes us back to Ecuador because one of the purposes was to upgrade the transmitters in Ecuador, and the first transmitter of the HC100s shipped out to Ecuador in 1990 was installed at the PIFO broadcast site, followed by 3 other transmitters over the course of the next several years, completely replacing the old RCA transmitters. And those became our core transmitters for broadcasting from PIFO. And this is another shot of the transmitter building with the 4 HC100s installed. Those were our core transmitters until the PIFO broadcast site shut down in 2009. So HCJB basically ceased doing high-power shortwave broadcasting from Ecuador in 2009. One of the major reasons was because the city of Quito built a new international airport just a few miles to the north of the broadcast facility, and the takeoff approach cone was right in line with our 300 and 400 foot towers, and somehow that and high-power RF and airplanes don't exactly get along. And we were forced to either move the facility within Ecuador or look at other alternatives, and HCJB chose to refocus its efforts away from trying to use shortwave from the Americas, especially for the developed and Western Hemisphere and Western Europe. And the choice was to just completely shut down that facility. The equipment that was in PIFO, some of it was repurposed. These 4 transmitters were preserved. All the other transmitters, including the 500,000 watt transmitter, were all scrapped. The 500,000 watt transmitter was a very expensive transmitter to run, needed significant upgrades if it could continue to be used. And we felt our efforts were best focused on the 100 kilowatt transmitters instead. Some of the antennas were also repurposed, others were just scrapped as well. But this is not the only place that has received those shortwave transmitters. TWR in Swaziland also utilizes these transmitters, and they actually have 3 of those transmitters in Swaziland now. The first one went there in 1992, and the most recent one in 2008. And from Swaziland, TWR covers all of southern Africa with programming using these transmitters. There's a picture of 2 of those installed in Swaziland. George Ross isn't with us now, but he can speak to also the transmitters for Guam. And one of the HC100 transmitters went to Guam in 1998 to complement the Harris transmitters that they already had. This picture of the transmitter building in Guam is just a few years old now, because these are the newer Thompsons that they added just a few years ago. But here's the 2 old Harrisons that are gone now, and I think one of those is the ones that you're refurbishing. And the most recent site then to receive HC100 transmitters is the site that HCJB Australia established in 2002. And they now have a complement of 3 HC100 transmitters. The first one was a brand new one, serial number 8, that we shipped to them in 2002 when they established the broadcast site. And the other 2 transmitters are 2 that were relocated from Ecuador to Australia. Number 6 was relocated directly from Ecuador to Australia in 2006. Number 2 is one that we brought back to Elkhart and have over the last several years been in the process of refurbishing and also upgrading for digital broadcast capability. Although we did not finish the upgrade for digital, Australia contacted us last year and said we really need another analog transmitter as soon as possible. And so we shifted gears to getting that transmitter as quickly as possible. And it shipped out in February of this year from Elkhart to Australia, and is currently being assembled to go on the air as soon as possible. And this will give them a good complement of transmitters for their coverage into China, Southeast Asia, and India.
That was Charlie Jacobson of Sunset Solutions, speaking at the 2016 NASB annual meeting in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll hear more from Charlie about the recent history of HCJB in coming programs. During the year 1928, the well-known Australian